Grandma's Kitchen.
There's a fiddle tune and a wooden spoon while she's stirring and singing. There's friends leaving or family land, and then the phone's usually ringing. No matter who you are or what you've done, everything's forgiven.
Thank God. Thank God.
Thank God. Grandma's Kitchen. And ain't it good to be in Grandma's Kitchen?
Grandma's Kitchen.
Hello everybody, Mary Janet here from Tunes and Wooden Spoons, and happy Thanksgiving to each and every one of you. It's an absolutely beautiful sunny day here in Port Hood, and I just want to welcome you to my Cape Breton kitchen once again, and thank you for taking time out of your Thanksgiving Sunday to join me for a little visit. I actually had to close the drapes in my living room because all I could see was the reflection in my eyeglasses. Hello from South Bar, Mary Beth. But anyway, today I just wanted to tell you about a wonderful week that I spent this past week. We had the Cape Breton tour, and oh my gosh, did we ever have fun. We did Inverness County, and we had a cultural day, and we had then another day going around the Cabot Trail, and just lots of good company, lots of wonderful people, lots of followers on there who are following Tunes and Wooden Spoons that I've made great friends with anyway with messaging and all of that prior to the tour, but now I get to see them in person. And then it was so funny to see a tour bus coming up East Street and parked at the end of our driveway, and I had got up early that morning and made cinnamon rolls for all 35 people so that they could have a cinnamon roll when they came here. So it was a nice ending to that day, and we ended it at the Celtic Music Interpretive Center in Judik with a beautiful lunch and a little tour of their exhibit that they have there. And then they were off and on their way, just 4 beautiful days. So here we are, and it's Sunday, and it's a long weekend, and I'm so happy to be here. So today, I am so happy and pleased to have with me Effie Rankin from Mabu. I used to work with her husband Daniel many years ago down in Mabu, or actually here in Port Hood it was, and when I worked for the school board, and so did he. And so now Effie to come over here, and I want to show you this lovely lady. So welcome, Effie. I'm so glad you're here, and she's going to give, she's just famous for bringing her baked goods to everyone and to have at any function that, we used to have lots of functions when we could bake things and take them somewhere. But I know that she makes this particular old-fashioned shortbread recipe, which she'll tell you more about as we go along. And I'm going to get Effie to make them, and I'll just assist her so you can see the pro at work. And how are you, Effie?
I am just fine. Hamigama.
Hamigama, that means I'm good.
Fine.
And
yes.
you're fine.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Falcha, and welcome. And Kemirat the Holashian.
Holashian Kama.
Hagama?
Hakama.
I'm trying.
Everything's fine in peace.
So what I said to her was, Kemirat the Holashian means how's every little thing kind of thing. And she said everything was good. So there now, she might be even teaching me a little bit later on. And you have to watch and learn as well. So right now you can set your oven to 325. And as I said, when I posted the ingredients today, I asked everybody, just because it's Thanksgiving Day and I'm going to put a turkey in the oven right after the show. And Effie has a big supper at her house today, Thanksgiving dinner at her place. So we're pre-measured everything out, which weren't a lot of ingredients. 2 cups of room temperature butter and half a cup of white sugar, half a cup of brown sugar, 3 1/4 cups of sifted flour. We haven't sifted the flour yet, but I will as we go along. And a nice bowl, and we get to use a wooden spoon today. And your cookie sheet, an ungreased cookie sheet. And we're all set to go. So Effie and I are going to go wash our hands, and we'll be back with you in a second. All right. I'll go behind you there. There you go. There we go. We throw her in there. I usually take what I dry my hands with and take it over to the table because sometimes our fingers get messy. There now.
Okay.
So I'm going to turn this music down even a little bit more. And of course, that's the Falcha CD from the Celtic Music Interpretive Center, and all the wonderful fiddle players and guitarists on the island is on there. Okay, so Effie, I'm going to turn this down. And I know we have so much to be thankful for. And we've survived this last 1.5 years, and we're going to have to learn to live with it, I believe, for another while. It's going to become one of those things, but we're not going to talk about that little monster just now. So here we go. I'm going to turn this down so we can see Effie working here. And we're going to start with the whole 2 cups of butter.
2 cups of butter. And it can be salted. If you have unsalted, you can add a little sprinkle of salt later. But usually it's salted.
I'll take that.
There now.
I'll be your assistant.
Okay.
And I'll take that fork. Here we go. And I'll get another clean one because we'll need that one a little later. And you just tell me, I have a 1/2 cup of brown sugar and white sugar whenever you're ready.
Yeah, you can put some in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will I put just some in, Effie?
Oh, I think put
whole
it
thing?
all in, yeah. I have to, you can do it like this, and if you are pressed for time, you can put it in your machine.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I do confess I do that sometimes, but
How many times have you made this recipe, would you say?
I think I make it in my sleep anymore. I think so. It just...
That's like me and biscuits. I
I suppose you probably made biscuits from the time you were a child.
honest to God, you just throw them together.
Here, you do some of that.
Yeah.
You have a stronger arm.
Yes. We'll
Yeah.
do this.
Oh, there now. You're showing me how to do this.
I don't know about that, Effie, but
Oh, yeah, that's the way.
so a lot of people were curious on how this would go with brown sugar. They had not heard, that we would put brown sugar in a shortbread recipe, but it's a different. It's not like your typical shortbread cookie.
No, it is just the old-fashioned Scottish one.
Yeah.
Now, do you want to know where the recipe came from, or do you want to leave that till later?
Oh, that would be great. Yes. Okay. Talk about
No,
that.
The recipe came from the Isle of Arran in Scotland.
Okay.
And it came from Margaret Armstrong, whose daughter Moira now lives in Mabel,
Oh my gosh, who was she married to?
married to A.J. Campbell.
Oh my God, is that
Yes.
right?
So Moira shared the recipe with her neighbors and friends, and then it just made the rounds.
Are you talking about Moira Campbell, Bernadette's brother, AJ?
Yes,
I
that's the
didn't
main
know
one.
that she had Scottish
Oh
connections.
yes. The Armstrongs were Scottish, and her mother's recipe came from the Isle of Arran.
Wow.
So it is an island recipe.
I love
And
it.
that's good. I think you've done a great job there.
Okay, I am going to. I actually got my sifter out, and I'm going to
Yes.
sift my 3 1/4 cups of.
That's a nifty one.
Yeah, usually I'll just use a sieve, But I have
Well,
this,
that one keeps the flour together.
Yes, it does.
You know, you could.
and it's just, I love using it. I just,
Oh, that's a
great.
neat one.
I think it was my son Gordy that got it for me, but I'll be corrected. But it's been years and years. So there we go. So
You can add some for me.
a little bit at a time.
Yeah, well, yes, I think it'd be easier. You start off mixing in with the spoon just so that you won't, you know, just to get it going, and then you have to use your hands.
Okay.
It's always. Yeah.
So many I find the old
could put a
recipes were that way.
Yes.
You used your hands a lot,
Yes,
right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So Effie, what are you guys having for supper? Are you having a turkey?
No, we're having ham and scalloped potatoes and
Nice.
acorn squash
Okay.
and carrot salad.
Okay.
And then we're
So
going to
when you say carrot salad, is that like the marinated carrots?
It is marinated
Okay,
carrots.
yes.
It goes well with a dry meat like
Yes.
ham, I think.
Yeah.
You need something. There, you can add some more. Yeah, and then we'll have, I hope, apple crisp and
Okay.
ice cream or fresh cream.
Ooh.
You know, I had visitors last week, and now I'm very careful. I ask, you know, if they're coming for supper or for a meal, if they have any dietary
Allergies, yes.
or dietary restrictions, because I got left a couple of times.
Oh.
So I did, and the lady was lactose intolerant.
Okay.
Well, you know what? It made me realize. I think I use dairy products in everything.
I know.
I think, you know, I put butter. I hate margarine.
Yes.
Well, I use it sometimes, but milk and cream and butter.
It's
almost
a
everything.
standard, I think, in our diet. Isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you this. A couple of weeks ago, I was having the cookbook launch,
Oh, yes.
and the night
you
before.
can finish it.
Yeah, you want me to put it all
Yeah,
in?
I think so.
And the night before, I had invited the team from the publishing company. There were seven coming
my
for
goodness.
supper. So anyway, one was had to be gluten free, right? And that wasn't a problem at all. But then one couple were vegan, not just vegetarian, but vegan. Well, I nearly had a heart attack.
How?
And I started thinking, okay, what can I do and make and whatever, because I had never, worked with that before. But then, as you know, Mitchell had moved to Antigonish, and the people who bought his house, the girl is formerly from West Mabu. She's one of the war cops,
Oh,
Becky.
yes. And she's a cook.
And she is she's a
Oh,
chef,
yeah.
and as is her husband.
Can I put this?
Yes, put that right there.
Now, this
Now
is
your
just-
hands.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I was over there picking up something, and she does this catering, and I had seen it. It was called House Catering, which she goes, I think, around and prepares meals for people, but didn't realize her last name is House.
Oh.
Yeah. And so I asked her about what could I do for this vegan couple that were coming. And then my next suggestion was, can I purchase 2 vegan meals from you?
Absolutely.
And I said, what a treat that was. And they absolutely loved it. She made vegan cabbage rolls. And so it was
Oh
just
my gosh.
absolutely perfect.
Oh, that, because even to get the ingredients that you need,
Yes, yeah.
you know, and then you might never use them again.
That's
If you're
right.
like me, you wouldn't.
No, that's right. But absolutely, the dessert I had and everything else, I was able to make it gluten-free, and I used a plant-based, like margarine, to put it together.
Yeah.
And the vegan people were
It's
just
smooth.
perfect.
You're supposed to have it as smooth as silk.
Smooth as silk.
This is what Margaret had in her recipe.
Okay.
Work it until it's smooth, and then you just sort of press it down. You can roll if you put some wax paper over it,
And roll
put
it
the
out.
Yeah,
yeah.
but
you don't want to add any
No.
unnecessary flour.
No,
right?
you wouldn't really, no.
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 But I mean, if you're rolling it out, we tend to use a rolling pin
Yeah.
and sprinkle with flour so it won't stick.
Yeah,
So,
but you can
don't
just
want
put,
that.
you can just put,
Put parchment paper over it or
parchment
something.
paper or wax paper, and that's all you need.
So it's an ungreased cookie sheet.
Yeah, there's plenty butter in it.
Yeah.
You don't need any more.
Okay.
And then you just kind of work it in.
Okay.
Try to get it the same thickness all around. I use is that the heel?
the heel
The
of your
heel
of
of
your
my
hand.
hand. Yeah, yeah. It's really nice. It might remind you of when you were a child, but playing with dough or pot.
Yes, and clay.
Clay.
Yes. So will you have enough to push that all the way to the other end?
I think this cookie sheet might be a
Maybe
little
bit bigger?
but we'll just put it as
As
far as it'll go. No worries.
And I see a little piece of brown sugar
Yeah,
there.
that sometimes you get a little. It's just as well to take it out.
Yeah.
Now I'm making a little mess of your table here, but
You're not making a mess. Have you ever seen me on the show? I've got flour everywhere.
oh, this is there's more there than.
It works up so quickly.
Yes, it does, really. And the good thing about this recipe is people like it, I find, and you don't have to frost it. Once
Yes.
it's done, it's done. So I'll try and kind of finish it off. So what was the size of this pan?
This pan was like 16 and something by 11 something. But I was wondering if maybe my jelly roll pan would have been the better size. I'll just show it to you. So this is my jelly roll pan.
Yeah, that's probably
And that's probably the better size?
Yeah, that would
Okay,
be the
I'll
better
change
size.
that on the recipe. But this is, what is this, 10 by 15?
Something like that. Yeah, that would have been
The right size.
Yeah.
Okay,
but
I'll
that was-
change that on the recipe.
That was my fault because I think I told you this would be, and it is. That's just fine.
And I mean, it's fine if there's, it's not a recipe that's going to spread.
No,
Right?
it should be okay. There now.
Now, do you want you don't want something like that to push it down? We don't
No,
need to do
I
anything
think-
like that.
I think and then all the finger marks will disappear as
They
it
will
cooks.
as
Yeah.
it cooks. And now you're going
And
to
then you just
score
take
it.
whatever size you think, and you just.
Do you do it all the way through to the bottom?
Yeah, I do. I never used to, and then my friend Margie said, "Oh, go all the way through to the bottom," because then you have to, it'll all go together as you cook it.
Yes.
I'm getting two more. Then you really have to use the knife again once it cools.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. And then would that be a good size?
Oh, that's a perfect size. But you can always have two if it's too small.
Yes, if you're taking this to a supper or if you're making something for sales, big
Yes.
sales, which we can't do
anymore. Yes.
but we will eventually one of those days. You can.
Perfect.
Now these are left for ourselves.
Yes. The
There.
leavings.
And then the fork, and just give it a couple of taps on each one. So the oven is ready.
The oven is ready. Leave it to you.
I don't know why. I think that maybe when you sprinkle the final little bit of sugar on it, maybe these little fork marks will hold the sugar better.
Yes, maybe so.
Or it's just a little bit.
This fella's lonely here.
Oh dear, there. So that's it.
And we'll put it in the oven for 40 minutes.
40 minutes, depending on if you
Yes,
find that your oven is...
Sienna, did you go all the way through? Yes, we did go all the way
Yep.
through. Was there any other questions there? I'm just looking now. Yeah, Hain, there's 704 watching you, Effie.
Well, now they should be cooking for Thanksgiving.
Yes, that's right. Oh, this is wonderful. Well, now we're going to put this in the oven for 40 minutes. And really, we don't have any music today. We're just going to sit down and just have a little conversation. And then we'll enjoy a hot one, where we would normally cool it.
Yes.
But it'll be fine.
Yeah.
It'll be fine. So there we have it. How thick are they? How thick? They're probably about a 1/4 inch, I would say.
Yeah, or maybe half. It
Or
just
maybe
depends.
it just depends, and it doesn't matter. I think it'll be
I don't
fine.
think it matters really.
You know,
Roughly.
but from looking at one end, they look to be about a 1/4 inch on here. If you can see
Yeah.
that, the height of that, and so if we had to put this in the smaller pan, the jelly roll
It
pan.
would be half an inch. I think.
It probably,
Yeah,
and
that
there's
would-
no size on this, but a jelly roll pan is typically 10 by 15, I think.
Okay. Yeah, this
And-
is a bigger pan.
Yeah, I should have asked that beforehand. You know, and so I'm gonna put this in the oven. We're gonna wash our hands and we're gonna have a seat. And look, hello from Barbados. Hi, Tracy, and Lori McPhee. Hi there. Happy Thanksgiving to you too. There we go.
Okay, wash your hands.
So I'm gonna set the timer for 40 minutes. So you go right ahead until you push it out. Here's the hot, and then here. Yeah, so anyway, just to review, hi there from Montreal, how are you? Hello to the Tomlinsons, happy Thanksgiving to you guys. Hi Kathy McMillan, happy Thanksgiving out there in Edmonton. And all these wonderful people. But just to review, for anybody who might have stopped in late, this is the easiest recipe in the world. So you started off with 2 cups of room temperature butter, and just mix that up with a wooden spoon in a bowl. And then we added a 1/2 cup of white sugar and a 1/2 cup of brown sugar, and we combined that until it was all incorporated. And then we sifted 3 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour, and just a little bit at a time, and mixed after every addition. And then once it gets down to that last add, it's time to use your hands and work it all in with your hands. And then just put it on an ungreased cookie sheet. Now in the recipe, when I put it up there, I did give you the measurements for my cookie sheet, which is a little too large, and I didn't do my homework right. So it would have been, the jelly roll size would be the best one, and it would cover the whole thing. But using the one I did, which is about 11 by 16.5 is the measurement of that cookie sheet. But we just didn't fill it to the very end. And because of the texture, it's not going to spoil what we put in the oven. And then she scored them into squares right through to the bottom and across, and about a 2-inch square for each one. I would say 1.5 inches or something like that. And then pricked each one with a fork mark, a couple of fork marks. And when we take them out of the oven and cut them again, because they'll obviously come together a little bit, we'll cut them again when they're cool. Well, we won't today, but when you are making them, you'll leave them till they're cool, and then you'll cut them and then sprinkle them with just some white sugar. And they're a great traditional recipe, which came from the Isle of Arran, you said? Yes. So we're going to sit down together here, and I'll turn the camera around. We're going to have a seat in the chairs here. You can sit there. So here we are. And I will sit beside you. See if we can do this, Effie. I'm not great at it. That sun is so bright. Here we go.
There.
Okay, so there we are. Oh, I'm glad, Deborah. I'm seeing if maybe I can catch this way. And that darn door, I'm going to close it. It might help
Okay.
with the brightness. Maybe a little. I shouldn't be complaining about the brightness. We're so lucky to have the
We
weather
are-
that we have,
it's so
right?
lovely today.
Yeah.
So lovely.
There we go.
you
Oh,
go.
there we
Gosh,
go.
you
I'll
got
go a
this.
little closer to you.
Yeah.
So, I really, I'm so happy to have Effie with me, and I'm going to go back to the early 70s here, when I was actually one of those years, and I think it was the first year you guys came. Did you come with Mardina Stewart?
I came before.
You came
I came
before.
in 72.
72. And so we were just married a year at that time. Guess we'll be married 50, whatever, in next month. And so tell me first about life in North Uist. And so you were born in North Uist, and tell us about your education and how it went on, and your baking experience as a child.
Well, baking experience as a child or while I was young was non-existent, really. My grandaunt lived with us, and she was she loved to bake. She baked fresh scones every day, every single day. And she actually made some fancy Empire biscuits and things like this.
What is that, Empire Biscuits?
Yeah, they're cookies.
Okay.
And they're like a shortbread. And of course, for us as children, she put a layer of jam on the bottom one and the top. They were very thin, crispy, like sugar cookies. And then the interesting thing was, she had this tiny bottle of what we just called red stuff.
Okay.
But she called it her cochineal bottle. And that was the red dye. Okay. Which I found out later comes from the shells of beetles, but anyway, she had this, and we weren't allowed to go near it. And she would pour a couple of drops on sugar, and this would go just a little dot in the center of each cookie, and that was such a novelty, because everything was, in short supply. I think the war was just over, and I think Britain was still in rationing. Even, 45, and then I was born in 48, and things were really, especially in the islands, things were in shorter supply. But anyway, I never baked or anything while I was a child at home. She did everything, and she had her own way of doing it. And then, children would probably waste a lot of.
Yes.
We have so much now that you can afford to make a mess and throw things
and
out.
And do bake something with your grandchildren, and it's okay.
Yes, it's okay. But no, this was. So I left. We attended the one-room school, just like everybody else, and then went on to junior high in a different school, the big school. And
where was that at? Was that in Benbecula?
No, it was only about 2 miles away from us. And there was a bus service, and small bus service. And but if you wanted to stay on for high school, you had to leave.
To the mainland?
To the mainland. You went to Inverness, and that was a real adventure.
So, Effie, so my experience going out to the Outer Hebrides of Scotland, we would have left from Oban, and it's like a 6-hour journey by ferry to get to Barra and South Uist. Yeah. But you at the top of North Uist, it wouldn't have taken you that long.
No, it didn't take that long, but we still had to go by boat.
To Skye?
Through Skye. The first time I think we went overnight, and it was the old Loch Moor, they called the boat, and it rocked. It really, a lot of people got sick on it. But then there was the train journey, and we had never seen a train.
Of course you wouldn't.
There was nothing like that, and it was a real adventure. And then we went to Inverness, and the big school. This was the Inverness Academy, and we stayed at the girls' hostel, and there were about 60 of us, I think, in residence there. And again, we thought it was wonderful. Of course. You were surrounded by girls from all over the Highlands, really. Some came in from the mainland, and others from Barra. And, they sent girls wherever there were beds, basically. And the boys likewise. Some boys went to Inverness, some went to Portree. So we ended up in Inverness, and it was great, really.
So, going back to the islands and North Uist and school there, was it in English or Gaelic?
Well, you walked into the little one-room school, and from the moment you walked in, everything was in English.
Oh my God, isn't that so similar?
But we were fluent in our own language, and we didn't realize that there was anything odd about that.
So were you discouraged to use the Gaelic? No, did not, no?
No. See, you used your own language outside in the playground.
Yes.
And I had an older brother. So if you didn't know the answer, or you wanted to convey something, you asked one of the older ones. It was flawless in a way, and it was obviously the best kind of immersion.
Yes.
Because everything, even the books, and you see, we thought the books were wonderful, as the cat sat on the mat and stuff like this, and I never seemed to, none of us ever had any problem with that. It's later on that you say, well, why did we not have our own language in the classroom? We did really. We could use it. My grandmother taught me the night before I went to school, or the week before, please and thank you, and how to use them. And then the other question was, please, miss, may I get out? And that was to go to the washrooms, because they had washrooms at the bottom of the playing field. So you had to go out. So I don't remember ever having any trouble with school.
Yeah.
With learning English. It was just a natural thing, and we could always use our own language. And then going to junior high, that was really when we started reading and writing our own language. And I remember thinking it was odd. Do you know the spelling?
Yes.
When you start learning French, you see that doesn't look a bit like what it sounds like. And, and gradually, you just catch on. So then off to the high school in Inverness, and there the language was taught as a subject, and after that off to Glasgow, which was, Cape Bretoners talk about Boston. This was almost like our Boston.
Okay.
Full of Highlanders. They always joked that, if students had a rowdy party or something, you were bound to get a Highland policeman coming up the stairs and tell you, Mahasha, get out of here. But you'd never get ticketed or fined.
Yes.
You just scattered.
Yes.
But there was bound to be a Highlander, Gaelic-speaking policeman.
Oh God, I love it. So was this like in your university days?
Oh, yes.
This was university. What university?
Glasgow.
Glasgow.
We had Derek Thompson, who was marvelous. He had the most wonderful voice. I can still hear him reciting poetry and so on. And the Celtic Studies classes were small, but they were great because you knew everybody. It was a small little group, and you got along. And then Glasgow was absolutely, you found Highlanders everywhere. Okay. In Glasgow. And then I went to Jordan Hill, the College for Education, and while I was there, one of my professors or teachers had come to Cape Breton more than once to teach summer schools in Sydney, where they had a very, very active Gaelic society there.
Okay.
Real activists. And they said to him, look, we're trying to get money to start a pilot project. Do you think you could find us a couple of teachers? So he said, oh, I'm sure I could. And he came back and asked, would you go to Cape Breton? And I said, of course. It was another adventure. And so in 1972, finally they got everything more or less organized. And I was able to come, and my friend Merdina was not. She was so dedicated to a class that she had where she wanted to get them through their O levels and A levels. and she felt if she left in the middle of the term that this would affect them. So I came on my own and stopped off in Gander, I think for customs.
Yes.
And I remember coming down and landing in Halifax and saying, oh my Lord, but all the trees.
Of course, there's hardly any
Not
trees.
a tree in the whole island of North Uist, a few bushes here and there. But this was just a forest of trees. But anyway, I was met by people from Sydney, the Campbells, and they drove me all the way to Sydney. I thought I would never, ever get there. I was exhausted.
Well, it would be.
How many hours would it be from Halifax?
Well, to Sydney, I would guess about 5 hours.
5 hours, and that's after...
Between 4 and 5 hours,
Yeah,
anyway.
I don't know how long the plane journey took, probably 5 or 6 anyway.
Yes. Oh my
And
God, you must have
then
been tired.
It was really. But anyway, Sydney was a very busy, they were so active there and committed, and they had managed to find Inverness County was willing to take teachers. So I started. Well, I didn't start until October or maybe November. By the time all the paperwork was done, the term had started. But I still remember my very first high school class in Mabo. They were the best. They were a small hand-picked class.
Okay.
They wanted to really, and they were excellent, all of them. Every one of them I can still remember. And how good students, and they were so polite. Much more polite than the Scottish students.
Is
let me tell
that
you.
right?
Oh, yes, yes. So that was the start of it.
Oh my God, I love that. I remember seeing you, and of course we weren't, didn't have very many people around that came from Scotland.
No.
But to listen to you, I would just want to sit there and listen to you speak because of the accent,
Oh dear, dear. So that was it. I've been here pretty well ever since.
And so when you came and you were teaching in the school system, and thank goodness that for those Sydney people that organization that got that started, because it certainly continued on because more and more teachers came.
Yes, and today, it's wonderful to think that there is a little primary school, all Gaelic immersion. It's really...
Effie and I were at the grand opening of the little primary school that just began in Mabu this September. And I mean, that must be a dream for you and Margie, the people that Margie Beaton was also from Eriskay, from Scotland, and she had been one of the teachers that came later.
That's right, the following year.
And to see this come to fruition after all of the years of the investment of...
Really, it really is. And I mean, there are 10 little ones attending that school, and they have a chance of using the language and learning about the culture and all of that. And I mean, it is taught in Mabu and Port Hood, in the high school and in the junior high, which is great. And but to have it in the community, more in the community, this would be a dream. So we're really, really happy that Bain Vabu, which is Mabu Hill, has opened with about 10 students, 2 wonderful teachers, and we wish them all the very best.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's just, I think of like Mama and all of the people that was their first language to imagine that this could happen again. Right. And I mean, there are the naysayers before this ever happened saying, why are you learning Gaelic? Why all of that? That's not going to last. But
well, it has.
It has.
And some of Cape Breton has held on to a tremendous amount of history and folklore, maybe more than some areas of Scotland. When I think of genealogy in particular, how people here just dote on, they want to know their background, where their people came from, and they've kept their a record, really, in many cases. Look at all the history, the genealogical books and
Yes.
papers that are available to us.
Absolutely.
That's more than I can say for even at home in North US. We would go and ask my grandmother, who was so-and-so's grandmother, and she'd
Yes.
usually tell you. And but written records are harder to
Hard to come by.
Yeah. So there's and the folk tales and the singing. Some of the very oldest airs have been retained in Cape Breton, I think. You know, sadly, the old slow airs are dying out as far as the songs go, but young ones are learning.
Yeah, they
Really,
are.
they are. I'm amazed at how well and how fluent many of those people are. And you say, well, there are so many opportunities now for anybody. You've got internet, you've got
Yes.
tapes, you've got real people, teachers that you can do FaceTime with. And
Yes.
that's wonderful. At one time, you know, you were stuck with books. You were on your own.
You were on your own, yes.
So
There
this is
was
good.
there was a lady when I had posted the ingredients for this traditional shortbread, and that you were going to be here, and you were a Gaelic teacher and all of that. And there was a lady that spoke of, she didn't know that Gaelic was taught in our area, and I guess I don't know what else that I might have said. And she said she was trying her best to learn it online, and she was so excited to know that you were
good.
going to be here today, and
Good.
to know that there's this education that's going on.
Yes.
And I mean, what's happening at St. FX University? There's a Celtic Studies.
Yes, they do, and they have a good program there, and also at CBU. Cape
Oh,
Breton
they
University.
do,
They
do
do.
they?
They do. There's and they have the language and folklore and history, that sort of combination. So there are opportunities around here to learn.
If you really want to
Yeah.
invest
Yes.
in your roots.
Yes.
Speaking, you mentioned before genealogy. You know, my brother Aligrati,
Yep.
he has more than 60,000 entries in his genealogical program. He has a program, computer software program, that's called Legacy.
Oh my gosh.
And when there's deaths in the obituaries in the Chronicle Herald, and if there's somebody locally that has passed away or whatever, and he says, he'll ask, okay, I must have some connection to this person in my program.
Yes.
And I'll say, well, you know so-and-so who's married to so-and-so. Well, that would be her husband's father. And he'll go on his program and he'll say, I have it. I have it. And so he'll make that link. And it's just amazing what he has been able to give you. Like, okay, Effie, you want to know who all your first cousins are? He'll go into that program and do it. And it's so important to know who you come from.
It really is.
You know?
Yes. And the fact that is available, but I find that the interest in that is so strong in this area.
It really, really
Very-
is.
You know, you're just constantly reminded that you need to know.
Yeah. Who you
and
are.
not just their names, but a little bit of their history too.
Yes.
Where they came from. And
I'll tell you, we've run into some problems here in our house a few years ago when the kids were around and were out there and dating, and they'd come home and they'd tell me, and I said, no, you can't go out with that one. She'd be your second cousin. So that has happened a lot. So I'm going to back up, Effie. I'm curious. Okay, so you landed in Mabu. Where did you live?
I lived at Angus Coo and Katie Ann.
Oh my God, my neighbors.
Your neighbors?
Yes, and you know what? I forgot about that. I knew that.
Yeah, they. This was all arranged for me by the school. People in the school had arranged that, and they were wonderful
Yeah.
people, really.
Who was in charge back then of that, of making that contact in the community?
Well, I think actually J.J. McCahern,
Okay.
who was from Sydney, and he and
Yes.
his father would have been in the society in Sydney, and he really worked very hard on this program and facilitated everything, made it easier. So this was arranged. I arrived there. I still remember Katie Ann was a wonderful cook.
Yes.
Oh, and they both were Gaelic speakers, so
Yes.
our language we spoke in Gaelic most of the time. And my first arrived late, having been driven from Sydney, and she had homemade mincemeat pie. And I had never tried homemade mincemeat with meat in it.
Yes, real
See,
meat. Yes.
the other, the fruit, what they call mincemeat, has no meat in it, but this did, and oh, it was lovely. And she was a wonderful cook.
Yes.
And a funny lady. We had a lot of laughs together, and Angus was too. They were great. I tried smelts. That was something else that I had never. She had a way of cooking them that I liked. I tried to cook them myself. I didn't enjoy them. And her fresh beans from the garden. That was another thing with lots of butter on them, salt and pepper. And no, I enjoyed. And then when Merdina arrived, we then started to rent in Mabel when we rented at Hearts Turnabout and drove. By that time I had bought a small car that didn't work very well, but anyway, before then it was you hitchhiked. You remember the old bus that ran from?
Yes, the Inverness bus.
Inverness bus. I used to go on that whenever it ran in to Port Hood and Judic and back. But I used to take rides from anybody who happened to be going in that direction. So that was the
Those
start
are the
of it.
days. So I'm going to ask the question. How did you meet your husband, Daniel Rankin? Because Effie was Effie McCorkadale.
What a name. Do you know that once they got to know me, one of the teachers in Mabel said to me, well, when we saw your name, we thought you were going to be a freak. And it really, when you think about it, it is a odd name. Even in Scotland, there's not many McCorkadales. But anyway, I forgave them for thinking that. No, I met Daniel. He happened to be teaching in Mabel. And because I was traveling, I used to go to Port Hood and Judic into the elementary there. But the high school class in Mabel, I had to use his room for teaching.
For teaching,
So
yes.
you couldn't avoid him.
You couldn't avoid him. Oh my God. Well, I love Daniel anyway. And I used to work with him at the school board, like I said before, but just so funny. And for anybody out there, Daniel would be an uncle to, so many of you are familiar with the Rankin family and have mentioned, Raylene and all of them. Well, Daniel would be their uncle. But, of course, you went on to have 3 beautiful children, and one of them was on our show, Maddie.
Oh, yes.
Maddie has
was
been on here, part of the Biolach band.
Yes.
And,
right now they're in Dubai.
And they're in Dubai. Can you believe that?
I really can't. Apparently it's 35 degrees. Just extremely hot, and it's an outdoor venue.
Oh,
that
my
they're playing
dear.
at. I don't know how they can do it.
It's-
Anyway, they just love. They're
And
having a ball.
Was it a project that they're over there on, or was it a festival of some sort that they've been invited to?
They were invited by the government, so it's a very good gig, as they say. It's an expo. So they are they're representing, I presume, Nova Scotian folk music or some, and they're doing several shows, and they will be back next week. And Maddie rode a camel the other day.
Oh,
yes.
yes.
Yeah, try everything new.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, our daughter Margie used to be in Abu Dhabi.
Yes.
And it's just a little bus drive north to Dubai.
And Maddie met up with her cousin Jerry.
Oh, Jerry's
They
there, yes.
spent the day together and really enjoyed. There's a Kip Retner everywhere you go.
I know.
Yep.
And isn't Susan Rankin in
She used to
Dubai?
be. She's moved to Singapore.
Oh, did
Yeah,
she? Okay.
Yeah. So there's always somebody you're going to meet.
Oh my gosh, there's a lot of
Yeah,
people from
yeah.
home that are teaching over there.
Yes,
for
yeah.
sure.
And actually, Cheryl and Kyle
Yes.
McNeil are over there. no, they're not
And
McNeil,
McNeil, Macquarie.
Macquarie, and they went to their concert.
Oh, that is so nice. Because I think are they in Saudi Arabia?
Some, I'm not sure exactly, but they went to their concert anyway.
So anyway, Cheryl and Kyle. Cheryl is Howie McDonald, fiddle player, his sister. And Kyle teaches over there in a compound.
That's right.
And it's quite an interesting journey that they
Yeah.
have been there a few years now.
Yeah. Oh,
And,
yes.
You know,
Yeah.
for sure.
So that is a brief history.
Of you.
Yeah.
And so tell me about, so you never really had a chance to learn how to bake then. And I mean, she's noted as just this wonderful baker and cook. And what I like about when you go to visit Daniel and Effie, she is one of the ones that actually gives you a cup and saucer to have your tea in.
Yeah.
I love that.
Well, it tastes
Oh my
better.
gosh. Oh,
Tastes better.
I missed that darn message. Somebody was talking about Dubai and a concert, so
okay.
I only see those two little messages as they come by. So tell me your baking journey.
Oh, my baking journey. Well, it was a shock to my system, really, because I swear, Mary Janet, when I arrived here, I could hardly boil an egg.
Yeah,
True.
imagine.
And
Well, I mean, how could you? You were a child, didn't get to bake with your grandaunt, and then you went
away,
away.
and you ate hostel food, which
Food.
was awful.
Oh.
It was dreadful. And then as a student, well, you know what students eat. We
Yes.
were no different.
Yes.
You'd get a care parcel from home, and that lasted you a day. And but when I arrived, oh my goodness, I really think Cape Breton is the baking capital of Canada. Honestly, I mean, little children can bake. My sisters-in-law put me to shame because they could make bread and biscuits and molasses cookies from the time they were 10 years old, maybe.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. I
think,
believe it.
They used to stand on a chair when they couldn't reach the table properly and knead the bread and, you know. So you had to learn.
Yeah.
There was just, you were shamed into it. Because once you sort of settled in, you'd get a call to make a pan of squares for some event.
Mm-hmm.
And then you went scattering looking for a cookbook. And of course there's hundreds. Now we have yours. And I just opened it the other day and I learned new things from your book. I did. Your oat bread, I said, I think I've been undercooking my oat bread. So I upped the temperature.
Okay.
Going by your recipe.
That's
So
something.
that was it. Once you settle in Cape Breton, you have to become part of the community and you learn.
right.
You learn lots of mistakes.
Oh,
Lots.
And that's how we learn.
I guess
That's how
so.
we learn.
I guess.
But talking about being involved in the community, Effie, what was your role in the Androkage, which is the museum in Mabu? Or is it a museum or the
Yes.
Gaelic
It's a centre, really.
a
but-
historical society?
Historical museum and a small community centre.
And it's called Androkage, which means the
bridge.
bridge. And there is a bridge that takes you into the Mabu village.
Yeah.
And so I guess that was kind of...
Apparently, Angus Coo used to tell me that the old people, that was their name for the village.
For the village.
They never said they were going to Mabu. If you went to shop, for example, the shops
Right.
there. Hamidolgan Drochage. I'm going to the
Okay,
bridge.
okay.
So we just called them the museum and Drochage. So we have... With COVID, we haven't had any meetings for how long? We really miss that. But we have very interesting meetings sometimes, you know,
Yes.
historical, we get people in to talk or just really community people joining in. One of our best ones was on making moonshine.
Oh my
goodness.
God, you're kidding!
We had, there were more stories told there that just, you just laughed.
Yes.
People getting away with making illegal moonshine in the woods and so on. Can I tell a story? It's a little bit indelicate, but anyway.
Tell it.
Not really. This gentleman told a story when he was in high school. word came to the high school boys in Mabo that a truck had gone off Delahanty's bridge and it had a load of beer bottles.
Oh, I heard this story. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
So anyway, the truck went off the bridge. The load was in the water, in the brook or the river.
So this bridge is between Port Hood and Mabo.
Mabo.
Okay.
And of course, word spread quickly, and
there was no internet then?
No internet, no Facebook, nothing. Word of mouth. And the high school boys, they would never ever miss a class because the nuns taught, and they would be on to that case right away. But they had an hour off at lunchtime, and they found some vehicle that would take them, and they piled into the vehicle, came out to the brook, and sure enough, there were the cases of bottles of beer floating in the river. So as he put it himself, we drank what we could, and what we couldn't, we put in the car. And drove back. Of course, they wouldn't go near the school.
Oh, well, I bet they wouldn't.
And they came to their afternoon class, and it right after lunch, and they had Mother St. Callista, I think it was, and she was trying to teach them something about Shakespeare, and they weren't really appreciative of Shakespeare, and if they had a few beers, you could smell it. But anyway, after a while, poor sister gave up and slammed her book shut, and she said, "Right, you boys, when you go home tonight, be sure to wash your feet."
Oh!
She must have either thought that she was smelling smelly feet, or else she was just being funny herself. I don't know.
God.
But it was a good story.
Oh, that is an awesome story.
Yeah.
Oh, my
there
dear.
are lots of stories like that.
Yeah, indeed and indeed. So I was going to ask you about possibly teaching our viewers a couple of words in Gaelic.
Okay.
I mean, we're going to do that, but I also want to get in here that Effie you're also an author.
Oh, well, hardly.
Well,
I
you
gathered
are an
up.
author.
I
but-
gathered up some material.
Yes.
There
and
is a difference.
There was a gentleman named Angus the Ridge.
Alan
the Ridge. Alan the Ridge, right. And he was... tell us about Alan.
Well, he was a poet, and a good poet. But, you know, the first settlers who came over, so many people could put some words, put poems together, songs together. But he was one of the best, and he lived on the ridge, Alpine Ridge. And he moved after a while. He spent quite a number of years there and then moved to Antigonish. But he brought a vast amount of history and songs with him, and I collected as many as I could and just put them together in a book. And the first edition had mistakes in it, and I take full responsibility for that. But the second one came out with corrections and such. So anyway, his family were unique, really. They were MacDonalds. There you are.
Yep.
And he was a poet. I think his father was a poet. He was a poet, and his son and his grandson.
What is the difference between a poet and a bard?
Well, really, I use them interchangeably.
Okay.
A barsht is the word, the Gaelic word for a poet. Barsht.
Okay.
Barstach is poetry. A poet, that's really what it is. Alan was a bard because they sang their songs as well. They were set to music, and people would know the airs, and the songs would survive. So that was so many people, though. Even ordinary shopkeepers and blacksmiths could put together a few verses. It was part of the culture.
Yes.
It was musical, and poetry or barstach was very much part of it.
And so is that book still available?
It might be. It's just a few copies left, but just like your book has gone out of print.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
But they can. on that, there's more.
More
There's
to
more
follow.
coming.
More coming. That's good. That's good.
So, okay, I'm ready for any kind of a couple of words lesson.
Well, growing up, my aunt always made scones. But the word we used was aran. Aran covers scones or bread of any kind.
Okay.
It's a form of bread. And at home, they made so many different kinds. I don't know if anybody here uses a griddle, except for pancakes, maybe?
Pancakes, I use them for waffles.
Waffles,
Yeah.
yes. Well, they had a griddle which would go on the stove, on the top of the stove. And when she made white aran, that was done on the griddle. It was a big round, almost like a pizza base, and then cut into fours.
Okay.
That was done on the top, on the griddle.
And what was in this?
Basically flour.
Just like a biscuit dough?
A biscuit dough, in a sense, although the plain scones or the griddle scone was only about a half an inch thick, and it would brown like naan bread.
Okay.
On the, you turn them over.
Okay.
And there would be just basically some shortening, which was probably butter. Very little sugar. I don't think there was much sugar at all. A pinch of baking powder and flour, and some milk. There was always sour cream or something like that, just to mix them. And then they would make barley bread, which was aran eorna. Eorna. Eorna is barley.
Aran erna.
Eorna, yeah, and that was dark bread. And again, it was good with cheese. It was like is this the...
That's the timer.
The timer, okay.
Wait, I'm going to
And
check
then
it. You can talk to the people if
Yeah.
there's questions.
And then there were maize meal scones, which was again done on the griddle. They were thin and crispy and made with maize meal or cornmeal. Perfect, that's great. And then they did what you would call biscuits, scones in the oven. And there were different kinds again. There were what normally you would call biscuits, but the ones we really liked were sweet. There they are.
I'm just going to show them to you.
Good. And they would add syrup maybe to those scones, and they were really good. So, a few words you have to know. Kemera how, and the reply hamikama.
Okay, so Kemera how?
Kemera
How are you? And Hamigama?
I'm fine.
I'm fine.
Ta believe. Thank you.
Tabaleave?
Ta believe.
Tapaleave.
And
So what's, I've heard tapalette.
Tapalat if you're talking to somebody casually, but if I was talking to an older person, it would be tapaliv.
Okay.
It's the polite form. Yeah.
So you're okay.
Yeah. And then falcha, everybody knows that.
Falcha, which is
And
welcome.
Welcome. Benach leave, goodbye.
Benach leave.
leave.
Benachleave.
Benach leave. Anything else?
Tapaleave. Tapalette.
Tapaleave.
Okay, how are you?
What you put in the shortbread? Flour.
Flour.
Flour, which is very
Okay.
easy.
What about-
Sugar.
Sugar.
Sugar down.
Sugar down, which is brown. Okay.
And that's really all that goes into that.
Yes. Butter. What would you say?
Eam.
Eam.
Mm-hmm.
How would you spell that in Gaelic?
I-M.
I-M. That's
M,
it.
and it's got a grav on the I.
Accent.
Eam. Aran agus eam. Bread and butter.
Aran agus eam. Agus meaning and.
Aran agus eam.
My God.
So are we through with...
So listen, you're going to do your little sprinkling of
yes.
sugar. I put the
Yes.
kettle on, and I'm going to make tea. But let's watch.
Yeah. Now this, you'd have to watch this because I noticed the edges
Are brown.
dark.
And
But
you know what? That's my oven. So I would probably make it
maybe
30 minutes, 35 minutes or
You
something
might do
instead
that.
of 40.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But even, the darker ones are crispy and they're lovely too.
Oh, yeah, I love that
Again,
too.
you can just put as little or as much as you want.
Now, the picture that I posted on Wednesday was Effie's, had just made them this week. So you'll see that hers were a lot lighter in
yeah.
color than mine.
But this is fine though. This is fine.
It should be great.
Do you want me to cut for you?
Yes, if you would cut it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Normally, maybe I'd leave it a little longer, but I think yours is crisp enough.
do you want an oven pad there to help hold?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll set the tea.
Shenakate. Now there's another word that you might use. Shenakate. And it's just, there you go. There it is.
And if you're tired, hammy ski.
Hammy
I know
ski.
that.
Hammy ski.
Effie, do you take milk in your tea?
Yes, I do. I do. And then turn it around and get the other side.
Effie, I have to show you a spoon I got at Flora's gift shop.
Oh, yeah.
And look at this.
What does it have on it?
It is a teaspoon. It's got the little tea bag up at the top.
Oh!
Isn't that cute?
I couldn't.
And it's just for stirring. There's some people that like their tea in first.
Oh,
and then you want to
yes.
stir it.
Uh-huh.
And that got me thinking about the name of your measuring, things. A teaspoon.
Span tea.
Span tea.
Span tea.
But what do you think that's how it was measured? How they came up with that? A tablespoon, meaning a spoon that you'd have at your table.
Yeah, span
and
Wurst, yes.
There
they
now.
Just, that they would just sort of translate. There now, these are a little bitty burnt, but they're still quite edible.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
You know what? I actually would love that myself.
The crispy one.
The crispy ones. But let's just. I will take.
Yeah, try these.
I'll put a couple of these on our plate.
Yeah.
And look, we've got some Cape Breton tartan napkins. And
there's another.
One for you and one for me.
Perfect.
And now, Effie.
We can let them cool off a little bit on the
Yes.
tray and then put them on the cooling rack.
I
And
want you to show. Effie is adamant that the only way to this is nice and cool, that you would put it in a tin can. It has to be saved in a tin can.
It does keep better.
Keeps better. Otherwise, it would kind of get soft, right?
I think if you put it in a Tupperware or plastic,
Yes.
I find that the moisture, it gathers the moisture or something.
Yes, it
it's
does.
better in a tin can.
Yeah, and that's the same as when I make oat cakes.
Yes.
It's the same
Same
idea.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
There now. Anybody have any questions there? We haven't been watching the screen to see if there was any questions. But if you have any, Morantang. Shelley McCory McNeil. Morantang. And that is
Many thanks.
many thanks. Okay. The napkins are beautiful and love your teaspoon. I know, Michelle. And love this true story time and the great shortbread recipe. That's from somebody in Ontario.
Oh,
that's nice.
wow.
Yeah, lots of. There's such a wonderful group of people. The aroma has drifted. Darn it, I missed it. People are loving our conversation. Yes, I know. What's this? Endinya Ken.
I have to have my glasses on.
Oh yes.
Aha.
Endinya Ken. That's what it looked like. Tapalev. Tapalev.
I believe.
Love you both. I'm going to see, can you freeze them?
I've never frozen them.
So many people ask me about freezing stuff, and I realized very quickly, what's wrong with me? It never lasts long enough.
It doesn't last long enough. No, I would imagine you could, But
Yes.
I've never frozen.
No, they're there and it's wonderful.
They're there and they're gone.
Kirsty McDonald. Hi,
Oh.
Kirsty. she's from Uist, I think.
Yes, I
right?
believe I know.
Love shortbreads. Oh my God, they look so yummy. Love the chat. I know. Let me check to see if how the tea is going here.
Okay.
And of course, you don't take sugar.
Nope.
In the true.
We'll put them on the rack, some of them. Then
And
you'll have...
Effie, here is your tea.
Oh, in a fancy cup.
Fancy cup, just like at your place.
It tastes better in a fancy cup.
And I've got a fancy cup too.
There now. Oh,
So
these are perfect.
Let's have a sit down and have a little bite. And I'm going to talk about next week. And I have to leave the oven on. I didn't turn it off because I have to put my turkey in.
Oh, yes.
Thank you for a wonderful afternoon. So anyway, we're just going to have a little seat here. And of course, the cook herself, the one that has learned from the Mabu people, her baking style, and she's known for her baking. I'm serious. Anyway, so there we go.
Do you want me to...
There, that's beautiful. She's already put. Look what she's done. She's just
putting them
all on the cooling rack to cool.
They don't take long at all.
They don't take long.
10 minutes maybe at the most.
Tastes better when someone else makes it. It's so true. Hi, Aldine Shanks.
Oh, I dropped one now.
Well, that's all right.
That's okay.
There's
I'll
a
put
2-second rule. So I am going to have the taste test. I haven't tasted them in a long time. Oh my God.
Are they good? Well, I hope so.
You can't beat butter.
No, you really can't. You have to cook with it. Maybe I overdo it.
It's
but
just melt in your mouth. Oh. And have a little strupak of tea. What is strupak?
it's a splash.
A splash.
You know, the spout of the teapot is the stroop.
Oh.
So what comes out of it is the stroopback.
Oh, I didn't know that. It just tastes better in these cups.
It does.
And really, what's the sense in saving them? You're saving them and putting them in a cupboard, and
know.
you have your best china and you don't use it.
Well,
I know a lady who has these beautiful dishes, and I asked if I could use one of the plates this one day, and she said that cupboard hasn't been open in probably 30 years. Beautiful china. Beautiful, beautiful.
oh,
And I was terrified that I would do something, but I needed to take a picture. And I was thinking, well, what a shame. What a shame. Whatever. So anyway, everyone, we've come to the end of the show. Wasn't it nice to have Effie here? Just a beautiful thing. And so next week, let me tell you who is going to be here next week. So next week, I am entertainment-wise, as I'm having Dolores Boudreau from Richmond County, and Nick Boudreau, who has been the guitarist with Robert Bouchard, who's been here before. They're going to be here to entertain, and I am going to be making. I'm going to make a quiche, just a plain quiche, and I'm going to make potato pancakes with it. just my own little thing that I make with potatoes, just grated up potatoes, and just going to have that for, I'll probably be having that for supper next Sunday night. So we're going to do that, and I'm looking forward to having both Dolores. And Dolores used to teach here in Port Hood. She taught French to our kids, and she's a lovely singer, and I'm looking forward to having her here. And also, just to make something a little bit different that's not on the sweet side. And then coming up the week after that, I'm going to make these maid of honor tarts. If you're wanting to plan ahead, and really you probably have everything in that you need, except for some Eagle brand milk or sweetened condensed milk. So that'll be really wonderful. So Effie, I want to really thank you for taking the time out on Thanksgiving Sunday to come here and to trust Daniel with the baking of the supper.
Well, I think he'll have some help.
I think he will.
I think so.
I think he will. And Effie just became a grandmother for the first time. And lovely little Lachlan, her daughter Sarah, has this beautiful little boy.
Yes.
How old is he now?
He is 7 weeks today.
7 weeks
7
today.
weeks.
Who doesn't love grandchildren? And I hear he's being spoiled rotten by Effie and Daniel every chance that they get. So very much congratulations to
Thank
Sarah and Chris for sure.
Thank you.
So anyway, it's that time again. I want you to know with all of my heart that you matter to me. And I want you to love one another. We have so much to be thankful for, and I want you to love one another because I love you. Bye-bye, everybody, and we'll see you next Sunday for a little visit.
Hey, hi, it's me, Charlie. If you like Grandma's videos, make sure to give it a like and subscribe. Give it a like and subscribe.